Afghani I need medical assistance on my wiener.
Damn man pit.
Enemy armor coming.
Okay, Price, are there any enemies coming up on us?
Negative, mate. C-130 gunship standing by.
There is no C-130 gunship! Coming in for another pass.
Newbie.
Roger that, Red 5.
Yeah.
I'm forming up on your wing.
Don't leave the flares.
By the infiltration project tactics.
You like it when you get a deep infiltration, don't you? Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Battered Bastards of Battlefield. Today we're doing a short wish list video. We do have a lot to get to in just under 30 minutes, so we'll kick it right off here. I have a list that we're going to go down, and we'll discuss each one for a few minutes, and then we'll move on to the next. If we don't cover them all, then we can always do a part 2. So the first one that we came up with that we would really like to see is Warhorse mode. Very similar to Air Supremacy mode, but with horses, because the horses are hilariously fun in this game.
Yeah, every time I hop on a horse, I get flashbacks of playing Mountain Blade, which is also a really fucking awesome game.
Yeah, granted, I wish that the horses had some sort of like parry mechanic and stuff, but once you get used to them, you can actually do quite a bit of damage, especially on a map like Suez. Once you cover the flanks with the horse, like, I mean, I just destroy people on that map.
Yeah, I feel like when they made the game, they made the horses not just to put them in there, but made them with a good, like, a role in mind, like a scouting role or a fucking interception role, and they're really good at that, but I feel a lot of people don't use them like that, and sometimes they just, I don't know, use them for transport. Like when we were playing the other day, we had a squad, and then we had a guy on a horse going out ahead of the flag and scouting out shit, and taking people off of emplacements, and just generally causing havoc.
Yeah, more importantly though, we do think that it would be awesome to have a warhorse mode that, whether it had capturable flags or if it was a deathmatch or whatever, we would love to see either a 24 or a 64 player warhorse mode where everybody can be on a horse and you can just be in the server having a blast.
Well, even further than that, if they don't want to do a warhorse mode, once they have more maps in and make more operations, I would love to see an operation based off of the first battle that is portrayed in the movie Warhorse, where they have the British cavalry and they charge the German machine gun line that's entrenched in the forest. Like the first flags that the British team has to attack, it could be like the flags they need to attack is 2 flags in the forest, or even 1 flag in the forest, but with a good trench line along the forest line and a bunch of machine gun emplacements. And then the British team, they're able to get more horses available to them than usual. So like the whole idea would be to blitz the flag with horses and try to get a foothold, but after that they wouldn't be able to spawn as many horses, and then it would be regular infantry fighting.
Yeah, well, even like even if you were in game, I would kind of wish there was like how they have like different weapon roles. I kind of wish that you could also apply like a squad role too, even if it was placed up to vote by the squad members and stuff. But like cavalry squad should be like one of those roles. We always play as a squad usually with like 5 or more people on TeamSpeak with microphones, and it would be really sweet sometime to just have all 5 of our squad members on horses riding around. I mean, I know that horses act kind of like armored cars, and that might unbalance things, but that would still be a lot of fun. Alright, so the next thing we're going to talk about, and probably for me the most important one, a community map tool or some sort of modding capability in Battlefield.
I'm pretty sure that's important to a lot of people, especially the players that started playing on PC.
Yeah, I don't know how many people here have played the older Battlefields, like Battlefield 1942 and stuff, but if you did, you will remember that Battlefield 1942 had some amazing mods for them, and because Battlefield 1942 had a map tool itself, there were tons of communities that had servers which ran custom maps, and in my opinion, mods keep things extremely fresh for Battlefield, and it's been really disappointing that since Battlefield 2, or I guess you could say 2142, we haven't had the ability to put mods or even custom maps into the game.
Well, modding is just a big part of just the PC crowd in general. Like, even like even Call of Duty Modern Warfare that had a really popular Star Wars mod that was booming at one point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things. It's like, like I said this the other day. I was like, even if a community map tool was released as like a $20 DLC, I would still buy that and I would use it because I loved modding Battlefield 1942. And if you created a custom server list that allowed people to share and play custom maps with other people with an auto download service, much like you see in like a Source game or even Red Orchestra, I mean, that would be really, really awesome because then you could have servers which are running custom content, and it would even help like us because we're part of a tournament. Once custom servers eventually do come out, because I'm sure that the community will pressure DICE for that in EA, it would be great for us because then we could make tournament maps.
And even with mods, like the one of the excuses they use is that mods decrease their money flow or something, but I don't know. That's couldn't be further from the truth. I know people who have bought Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2 over and over again just to be able to play it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, like there is the fear, I guess, from a monetary standpoint, that if you allow mods for your game, that it's going to decrease the value you get out of your downloadable content. We saw that argument with Total War, for instance. Creative Assembly and Sega were really scared that if they released comprehensive modding tools to the level that we saw like in Medieval 2 and stuff like that they would lose DLC sales. But ultimately, it's like now you look at it with like Warhammer, and the assembly kit's getting better and better all the time. And I mean, they're still selling tons of DLC for Warhammer. And I mean, so to me, it's like that argument doesn't really hold up against scrutiny because again, you're not just people are going to buy the DLC regardless is my point. It's not like people are going to buy the DLC and then by allowing the community to also produce content, you're extending the life of your game, and by that margin you're extending the shelf life as well because people are going to continue to buy the game. Some people are going to buy it over and over again. People are going to go and tell their friends. Kids are going to go to high school and be like, yo bro, I was playing Battlefield 1 last night and they have this new mod out and it's fucking awesome, you should come join me. And then maybe his friend who doesn't have it's going to go out and buy it and do that.
Yeah, and in the case of some mods for Total War, since we're talking about that, there's some mods that actually required you to have some of the DLC. The Third Age Total War mod, the Lord of the Rings one for it, it required you to have the Medieval 2 Kingdoms DLC. The Civil War mod for Empire, it didn't require it, but it also was way better if you also had the Warpath campaign DLC.
Exactly. And I mean, being the fact that we came from a tournament that eventually ended up on a mod itself, Forgotten Hope, we could probably talk about this for hours, but we'll keep it relatively short here. Simply put, we would really love to see a community map tool or some sort of modding capability come back to Battlefield.
Well, what we'll do is in the future we can make a comprehensive video about mods, the history of modding in Battlefield, and get people more information on that.
Yeah, that's a really great idea because I'm not gonna lie, I'm really missing the old Battlefield Pirates days. All right, so let's move on here. The next thing that we have on the list is smoke grenade changes, and as far as smoke grenades go, for me, my biggest pet peeve with them is that they just don't cover enough of a big enough area to the point where they're really, really useful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate the effectiveness of stuff like this if they haven't played mods like Project Reality or games like Red Orchestra. But the thing is, even in vanilla BF2 and even in any freaking first-person shooter game that is like Battlefield, the smoke grenades really help you out. They don't kill people, but they allow people to move up, and it would definitely make certain points like freaking attacking some of those bunker flags in on Mont Grappa. Throw some smoke grenades. They get good coverage. It would allow people to just freaking bum rush You know, some might die, but it would get you the coverage you need. And on a lot of operations especially, it would help you out, especially the ones where you're attacking trenches.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the things that we definitely thought would help operations get a little bit more balanced. I know that in this game, the smoke grenades kind of act like flashbangs, I guess you could say, because if you're standing close to them, they completely blind you. I don't know if that's really necessary. I think that you just need to have the smoke cover a larger area and be thicker, so that if I'm using smoke for obscuration, that I can actually push up. Because right now, you throw the smoke, it poofs up for like, I don't know, like 15 seconds or something. It covers a really short and small area, and it's not really thick. And most of the time, enemies can just shoot you through it. So, and the other thing too is, it'd be nice if some of the mortars, like the howitzer tank, or even like the mortar variant of the Mark V, it'd be cool if they had smoke rounds, which covered an even larger area.
Oh, they don't? I thought they did.
They do? I don't remember that.
You know what? Maybe for the mortar tank, it was just like a smoke screen for the tank that I was looking at.
Yeah, there is tanks that have smoke screens, but that's another thing too. Like the tank smoke screen on the A7V, that makes useless. Like you pop it, and it's unless there's infantry that are like directly on top of you, it's really not. It's really pointless. It doesn't obscure your tank at all. And
Well, the hilarious thing is that, like, it's small enough to just cover the outline of the tank. So when you're moving, you just see this big cloud moving, and it's like you know where it is. It's almost makes it more visible.
Yeah, I wonder what that giant moving cloud is. Oh, it must be the tank.
It's the flying Nimbus.
It's fucking Goku. Look.
Oh man, we got to do that one of these days. Fucking hop on top of an A7V with a with a Martini Henry, and then drive around while it's on the smoke cloud.
All right, let's move on. This is another big one that we really don't understand why it's not in the game, and that's a parry mechanic. There's just times when you're fighting melee that it just feels like a hack and
Mashing
slash.
F?
Yeah.
No, I've played hacking slashes before. Dynasty Warriors had much more rhyme and reason to it than this.
I mean, it's just like you see. I mean, it's hilarious. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely the melee in Battlefield 1 is a lot better than 4 or 3, and it's absolutely hilarious. But the not having the ability, especially on like cavalry or against bayonet charges, to like counter them in any way, shape, or form, is kind of ridiculous. Because I mean, think about how much more interesting the melee fights would be if you could block an attack. Then it would require some sort of like. Not because now it's like you just smash F until one person dies, But if there was a parry mechanic, it might actually require a little bit of skill, and like there might be some dueling that goes on,
Yeah, exactly. And I know what most people are probably thinking. They're probably thinking, "Oh no, don't bring back the counter knife." Which, by the way,
No, don't do that.
I totally loved the counter knife because fucking playing Battlefield 3, it was really obnoxious. People just blitzing you and running up in your face and just all of a sudden getting a one-hit knife kill on you. That was retarded. At least the counter knife made it so they had to sneak up on you. But no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about like a... Oh, sorry.
The problem with the counter knife because I played a lot of Battlefield 4, but the problem with the counter knife was that it was mostly reliant on latency between players. So there would be times where you'd be like, I could have a great ping on a server. I could have like a 20 ping, and I go to knife a dude with a 300 ping, and he gets the counter knife every single time, regardless of how I attack him. And there'd be times like with the counter knife where you'd literally walk up behind somebody and you'd attack them from the back, but somehow, because of the latency, they managed to turn around and you didn't see it on your screen, but he saw it on his, and he got a counter knife, and it's like, what? So the counter knife mechanic is terrible.
Well, that's not a problem with the counter knife mechanic. That was a problem with netcode issues.
I still think it would just be better if there's like a simple, just like parry mechanic, just like right click to block, and then, there's like a chance that you won't block it and a chance that you will.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Completely timing based,
Like, yeah, like I wasn't saying to bring it back. I was just saying I didn't mind it. But yeah, like, especially coming from games like Chivalry and Mountain Blade, and it doesn't even need to be in depth. It's just, you could just press it at the right time and face them, and you'll block it. Which, Yeah, it would be really cool because I was having this quote unquote knife fight. I'm doing air quotes here with some guy, and it just looked really silly because it was just like quick stab, retract, quick stab, retract, and he was doing the same thing. The two of us were just doing that until somebody died, and
It's
it's just like whoever does it faster.
Yeah. Like, I don't hate the finishing moves and stuff in the game. I think those are really cool. But it's been a long time since I've had, like, a really fun knife fight in a Battlefield game. Like, I think, when you think back, even, like, Battlefields 2 in 2142, where the knife fights were still... I mean, because the netcode in Battlefield 2 wasn't the greatest, if we have to be honest here. But at least
Well, you
the knife
still
fights
had
in that
to
were
aim 'em.
hilarious. Yeah, the knife fights in that were hilarious. It took like 2 or 3 hits to kill somebody, and you could just... People were, like, jumping around and trying to run away from each other and stuff. It was really, really funny. So, a parry mechanic, just in general, just kind of to increase the skill needed to melee fight would be great. Just to make the game a little more fun. So let's move on to one that neither of us can really understand. And the only thing I can guess is that they're going to do this for downloadable content, is the M1903 Springfield infantry variant. Like,
Or lack
where,
thereof.
yeah, like where is it? Why is there an infantry variant of every other bolt-action rifle? Why is the infantry variant in the goddamn single player but not in the multiplayer? That to me shouts that they're going to do a DLC with it in there.
Yeah, because Archie and I, we both like to use iron-sighted bolt-action rifles, especially in this game, this World War I game, where bolt-action rifles were the weapon that everybody was using. So you got your Gewehr 98. That's awesome. You got your Gewehr 95, which I didn't realize existed until this game, but that's also awesome. You got your Lee Enfield, which everybody in this game knows as the SMLE Mark III. But you got your Springfield sniper rifle, but no infantry variant, and all we're left with is this really weird experimental variant that is, for all intents and purposes, a Springfield rifle, but because of game mechanics, it's just you have this Pedersen device that you can put into it, and it makes it accept pistol rounds in a semi-auto
Yeah.
rifle.
And I don't know about you, but I think that pistol round variant is terrible. Like, I just don't think it's good at all.
It's fun. Like so many of the weapons in this game, it's fun to use, but oh my god, it's yeah. It's just there's so many other things that do the job that it's trying to do way better. And the funny thing about it, and the reason why we're so puzzled as to why there isn't a regular infantry variant of the M1903 Springfield, this freaking Pedersen device, it was designed to be able to put in and take out at will. Like, it was designed specifically for the infantrymen to say, hey, I need something that can do close quarters and shoot semi-auto. And you actually see it in game when you switch to cables. You take out the Pedersen device, put in the regular bolt, put in a K-bullet, and there you go. And in real life, that's what it was meant to do, only with, like, regular bullets, not K-bullets.
Mm-hmm. And the only other gun that we can't really understand why it's not in the game is the Carcano. Like, where is the Carcano? Why do we have Italians, but we don't have a Carcano?
Yeah, we have the Automatico, but we have no Carcano.
It's like why would you add the infantry rifles for all the other countries that are currently in the game, but not a Carcano? Again, that to me also kind of bordered, because I think you see one in the trailer, so it kind of borders on the line of, I think that's going to be in a DLC.
Yeah.
Now, this next one that we're going to talk about, I think this one hits more home for me than it does for you, but I miss the days, especially when Battlefield 1942, where Battlefield had 64-player team deathmatch and large map capture the flag with 64 players that all included vehicles. That I don't know, like I said, if you didn't ever play the old Battlefield games, I know this is a shock to you, but in Battlefield 1942 there was team deathmatch, and the team deathmatch maps had vehicles. and they were on the large maps, and there was even capturable flags which would give you extra equipment. And you know what? I really want that to come back.
Yeah. Well, I never played TDM, but I always loved me some Capture the Flag. And
Yeah.
I remember having a lot of really fun times, especially on 24/7 Capture the Flag El Alamein. Some of the
Mhm.
best fucking times. I remember people developed these techniques like the fucking swoop and scoop with the two-man bombers, the Stuka. You know, you drop your buddy out who was in the gunner seat of the Stuka over the British base. He'd capture the flag. He'd run out on the airfield, being chased by all these people being shot at him. Then, you know, his buddy would come by, swoop by, and swoop him up again and fly him back to the base.
Yeah, I mean, El Alamein was the capture the flag map back in the day, and like I said the other day when I was talking to you about this, it's like I totally remember a dude from our clan who was capable of doing bail loops over the flag and capturing the damn thing over and over and over and over again, like never getting shot down, doing bail loops over the capturable flag, which was absolutely goddamn hilarious if you were there to watch it.
You might have to explain to people what a bail loop is.
All right, so a bail loop in the original Battlefield was you would be flying a plane, and there was if you would practice it obviously, but you would be able to climb to basically start doing a loop. You would bail out at a certain point. The plane would continue the loop, and it would come back around. And as you were falling, you would grab the flag and then hold E as you were falling. And you'd get back in the plane and keep on flying. And I really, like I said, I don't know. It's just that, I know they had Capture the Flag in 3 and 4, and I know they had it in like Battlefront 2, but it's like, it feels to me like Capture the Flag is being relegated to like this small infantry-based mode. It's like, I really want like a good Capture the Flag map that is like the old El Alamein that has vehicles and everything, where you're actually fighting for Capture the Flag. That would be absolutely amazing.
Well, the ironic thing about it is, didn't Battlefield 3 have a full server, like a 64-player Capture the Flag for PC?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. But that's the thing. It's like, why are these modes being removed? And especially like, why is things like Rush and Team Deathmatch being relegated to these 24-player modes? That makes no sense to me. Because I mean, I know 64-player TDM wasn't like the most played server mode in Battlefield 1942, but it still is pretty cool. It's a completely different like set of rules than playing Conquest. So I really would like to see that come back, because I think it would be awesome to have a 64-player team deathmatch going on.
Man, I remember, like, they even kept in the whole flag capture mechanic. It's just there weren't any tickets to work off of. They just acted as capturable spawn points.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on to the next one. This one's kind of off the wall, but we also feel like this is one of those things that, why not? Authenticity mode, a custom game mode, much like Hardcore or something, which adjusts the weapon kits and all that stuff to be more authentic to the actual war that it's portraying. I mean, there are a lot of people that are playing Battlefield 1, and us included, that would love to see Battlefield 1 with a more, it doesn't have to be a completely authentic weapon loadout, but something more authentic and more close to what the actual war was like than what's currently in the game, because that's sort of like an alternate experience that we want to have.
Well, yeah, like, that's the whole reason why I like to run around with iron-sighted bolt-action rifles in Battlefield 1.
I mean, like we said before, DICE really dropped the ball on this one, because, I mean, granted, they did an amazing job at picking World War I, because I was thinking about this the other day. If you think about the time of World War II shooters, which started like, let's say 1998 and ended in 2005 with like Battlefield 2 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare and stuff like that. So you only had World War II shooters really in the popular mainstream going on for about 6 or 7 years. But since 2005 up until now, and even including Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which we were live streaming the other day while I was playing it, we really haven't had a game that's been set in a time period like this for the past 10 or 11 years, and it's
well, a AAA one, because, there is Verdun, and that game is awesome.
Yeah, but I'm talking like a major franchise like Battlefield or Call of Duty or anything that has been set. I mean, we had Call of Duty World at War, but that was the last one that I can really remember, and maybe Black Ops 1 that was set in Vietnam. But other than that, most of it's all been modern warfare and futurism shooters that take place in science fiction universes, and it's like, it's been almost 11 years, you know, like, and I think that DICE is really smart for going back to World War One, but at the same time, it's like, when you make a Twitter post that's something like, oh, we said to our guys that we wanted to do this, and they told us that there was people that didn't even know World War One happened. I was like, well, now's your chance, DICE. Now's your chance to like educate people on the reality of World War Two, World War One, and what happened in it, you know. And they could have created something that played fundamentally different from all of the shooters out there, and they just, I mean, they did. Don't get me wrong, but they could have done even more. And we really think that like an authenticity mode with the weapon loadouts would be great.
Yeah, using a bolt-action rifle in this game is actually way more fun and satisfying than it has been in previous Battlefields even.
I mean, I like drag on the rifles. I like the scopes and the sights. I like how everything's analog. You know, there's no like red dots and freaking range finders and fucking straight poles and all this stuff. It's just,
Well, there is a straight pull bolt, but that's for the
Well-
Gervera 95. But that's because it was made that way.
yeah. Anyways, let's move on to another one. I'm gonna skip one here because we could probably do a whole other video on that because that's an important topic. But let me skip over to this one. We're gonna talk about map design for just a second because there's this plague that's going on in first-person shooters right now, and it's famously known as the 3-lane map design. And you see this especially in Call of Duty, where literally every map is designed this way, where the maps have 3 lanes which you can take. To compare, Argonne Forest is especially a map that comes to mind when you think of a 3-lane map. And
Here's another one that comes to mind, and everybody's going to agree how cancer it is. The Operation Metro from Battlefield 3.
Yep, that's another one. And it just, to me, while I think that does have a place, I think slowly but surely you're starting to see that influence on Battlefield where more and more maps are starting to have that design. And to me, that's a terrible, terrible thing, because if you play Call of Duty Infinite Warfare multiplayer and you spend even 5 minutes and you have some semblance of a brain, once you find, there's a point on every lane that once you find out where it is, if you just hold that sector, like that little section of that lane, you're done. You can just score hundreds and hundreds of kills and like just dominate the server, because it's literally simple stupid. It's like gambling. You pull a little lever and, oh, I guess I'll go down this lane. Oh, there's a guy. Guess I'll go down the next lane. Oh, there's a guy. And it's like, you know, Argonne Forest is an example of that, and it's just a giant clusterfuck.
Well, the problem is that that's not Battlefield. Like, fine, small arena shooters, that works fine with, which, by the way, old school small scale arena shooters didn't use that a whole lot, and they were great.
Well, think about like Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament didn't use 3-lane map design. Unreal Tournament used arena design. Like, you literally spawned in on the map and it was a fucking circle. It was an arena.
Well,
You know?
there was also a lot of verticality.
No, that too. You know, it's like, so I don't know where this 3-lane thing started, but
I don't
it's
know
really
why
turning into
people-
a plague.
Well, I don't know why people think it's good.
It's-
You can even have a narrow map and still have it, you know, not be 3 lanes. Freaking Suez is a perfect example of that.
Yep, and like I said, it's really turning into a plague, and it's like the last thing I want to see is a Battlefield game come out someday where all the maps are designed like that. Because right now in Battlefield 1, there's quite a few maps that are like that. We got Monte Grappa, we got Argonne Forest, we got Suez Canal, and to an extent, you got like Amiens. I mean, a lot of these maps are starting to flow into that design, and it's just like, okay, guys, you need to slow your roll.
At least with Monte Grappa, it's really big and spacious. Like, it's not really 3-lane. It's kind of narrow, but there's still a lot of flanking opportunities.
Oh no, of course, but I mean, it's still hinging on that design, and it's like, you know, we got to stop this before it becomes a real problem where every map is going to be an Argonne Forest.
Yeah, to me, a perfect Battlefield map is one like freaking Sinai Desert, actually.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what it is. It's like, I just want a terrain that's completely open, where I have free roam to do whatever I want to do, where I want to go, what I want to use, and I want flags on it so I can play Conquest, because that's the signature Battlefield mode, you know. And I don't want to be confined to a sector because of the out of bounds and, like, you know, just have to grind my way across the map. Like, yeah, on Argonne Forest, we're getting pretty good at running the flanking route to Echo, but, I mean, that's completely hinging on the fact, you know, that completely hinges on the fact if the enemy's defending the flanking route or not. If there's no enemies there, then great, let's go attack Echo and pull them off the front, but if not, I mean, you're just fucked. It's just a meat grinder, the whole map.
Yeah, and we can link some like pictures of, you know, really cool maps that don't use the 3-lane design from previous Battlefield games, which 1942 and Battlefield 2 were full of awesome ones.
Alright, so we have time for one other topic before the time is up, so let's talk about this one, because I believe this is also very important. Commander mode.
Yeah, something that they brought back for BF4 and made a big deal about it, yet they didn't bring it back for this.
I don't know. We were big fans of Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 2142, which were the games that introduced the Commander mode. And I don't know why in Battlefield 4, for instance, Commander mode was a completely passive role, whereas in 2 and 2142 you could be a fighting commander if you wanted to, even though it was frowned upon. But we definitely think that Commander mode, and to a further extent, the fighting commander need to come back. And they have a real opportunity to do something like really cool with this, because, I mean, he could have an officer kit, he could call heavy artillery barrages and things like that. Really have, you know, kind of like the behemoths sometimes, probably have a real effect on the battle if he did it right.
Well, yeah, that does bring into light the fact that heavy artillery doesn't really make an appearance in this game at all. And that you know, that void could be filled by the commander, who could call in artillery.
Yeah, I mean, and not just not like high explosive artillery either. I mean, smoke artillery. You could do scout planes. You could do, you know, also. I'm sure if we brainstormed more, we could come up with a whole list of things that a commander could potentially be given the ability to do. But you know, it's just one of those things. Like sometimes there is a lot of times where like, just having a squad operating by itself is not enough. You know, a lot of people don't have microphones, and I don't think that it's that. You know, with Battlefield 1, you get a pretty interesting community. I don't think that this community is unwilling to listen and play together. I think that, you know, on top of having the squad mechanics, you also have the problem where there's no organization above that, and it's like, you know, if you just had a commander who was sitting on the team, like just marking flags for squad leaders, you might actually see more of a cohesive effort as opposed to just random squads running off. And I mean, God forbid, you still have maps like Monte Grappa, for instance, where both teams are just throwing themselves at Bravo endlessly, and it's like, you know, there's a way better way to win that map than just throwing yourself endlessly onto Bravo.
Yeah, and I don't see DICE's argument that they said that sometimes the commander, like, mode, you know, produce undesirable effects. Like, yeah, if you have a bad commander, that sucks, but that doesn't mean that it's going to ruin the team all the time. Like, you can still do your own thing. And quite frankly, if the enemy team has a commander that is doing his job, then they deserve to have that advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, it you know, like, there's still commander mutiny in Battlefield 4 and stuff like that, so it's like, I really can't think of any reasons why that was removed. I mean, Commander mode, when it was first introduced in Battlefield 2, was like an amazing thing. Like, a lot of people liked it, you know, and yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, so what? You have a bad commander one round and a great commander another round. You know, that's just the roll of the dice, man, you know, like, we get it.
The dice.
But the commander's not gonna ultimately decide the battle 100%. So there's more of an excuse to why the team lost than just, oh, the commander sucked.
Well, the thing is, it brings to light more interesting dynamics between players. Like, that's the cool thing about Battlefield versus other shooters. Other shooters, like Call of Duty, you can just turn your brain off, operate by yourself, and just kill people or be killed by people, and just do whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and
Battlefield, like, it's so much better if you coordinate with people, if you communicate with people.
Yeah, well, and this is another thing too. To a further extent, Battlefield 1, if we're not going to have a commander mode, then Battlefield 1 needs to include, desperately needs to include. I mean, I don't even know why this isn't a thing in most modern shooters to begin with, but it desperately needs to include proximity voice over IP, where you can talk to players that are around you, and it also needs to add inter-squad chat so that squad leaders can talk to one another and formulate a plan.
Yeah, that's something that I actually got quite used to from playing the Project Reality mod, from playing Squad. Hell, even playing tournaments at World at War, where we set things up to where, Commander channel chat was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, even playing like Red Orchestra, and granted, Red Orchestra uses a team chat system where you talk to the whole team, but I mean, having the ability to where you don't have to be on a TeamSpeak or a Ventrilo or a Skype to talk to everybody else around you to tell that medic who didn't see you go down that you need a med box or something, that's really important. It's just I know they have all these like 3D map tools and stuff where you can spot enemies and there's grenade markers and flag marks and all that stuff. I get it, but it's just not enough. It's like players desperately need a way to communicate with each other, because you'd be really surprised. Like, I've been trying to find people that are going to join the World at War TeamSpeak at night, and we found one the other day. His name is Newbie Supreme. He's a great guy, and I've been doing that. I've been like playing by myself, commanding squads, and you'd be really, really surprised how many people actually have microphones that play this game but don't turn them on because there's no goddamn point. It's like give them a point where like I can talk to anybody that I need to around me to get the point across as to what's happening right at that moment. And I know that you could be worried, I guess, about people spamming, playing music over it or whatever, but
that's not an excuse, because there's usually a way to mute or turn those people off.
Exactly. Just make a mute mechanics, or make a mechanic whereby if someone's microphone is active for more time than a certain number of seconds, he mutes automatically. There's plenty of ways that you can negate. You can completely negate that argument, and it's just like.
And another thing, like even further than coordination, think about the immersion in the experience. Like, man, I know you didn't like it, but PlanetSide 2's proximity chat was fucking amazing sometimes, because you'd have all these people that were in other platoons outside of your own fighting over the same thing, but then there were times where in proximity chat I talked to everybody around me, and I had to yell because that game's loud, and you had to yell in proximity chat, which is already cool. It's like you're a soldier in the field yelling to everybody around you, and you're like, everybody on me, and then everybody would get on you, and then you'd say, charge, and everybody would just start yelling with their mics, and they'd be charging down. Think about that in fucking Battlefield 1, especially on the operations, like, right after you capture a sector, and it's like, okay, go take these flags. You'd have all these people yelling in their mics, and it'd be really cool to hear.
Those are just the best team building moments that really make the game worth
Yeah.
playing.
Well,
Exactly.
That's the thing too. Like when I think about the community, right? So if I look on Origin right now, I think I have like 130 or 140 hours into Battlefield 1 right now, and that's quite a bit for the game only being out for like what 2.5 weeks about. And I've played Infinite Warfare. I have not played it nearly as much as Battlefield 1, but it was instantly noticeable the difference in the community and the people that are playing in the communities between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. Because all I heard playing Call of Duty was like, 27-year-old men and little kids yelling at each other, fuck you and fuck your mom sucks cock and that's a bunch of bullshit and blah, blah, blah. And then you play Battlefield 1 and like, even people that don't have mics, like if you get in a squad with a bunch of random pubbies and you give them a little bit of instruction, the average Battlefield player is really readily willing to participate in that squad action. And I know when we play as a full squad here on TeamSpeak, like we just have a blast. Like we just laugh our fucking asses off, and we can, with a full squad of 5 guys from this tournament TeamSpeak, we can shift the balance of matches. So it's like, it's really important that we get some form of proximity VoIP in squad chat in the game so that more players can communicate.
Oh, I think it's vital, absolutely. to expand on your earlier point, would you say that the Call of Duty players are kind of like the B team, and the Battlefield players are kind of like the A team?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like I've played Call of Duties in the past where
Oh god, copyright strike.
like I've played Call of Duty games in the past. Like I had a crew of guys that I played with on PlayStation 3 back in the day for Modern Warfare 2, and like that was a lot of fun with a full squad too. Like you could really do a really good job of like absolutely just destroying the enemy in Call of Duty. But it's like the average Call of Duty player isn't gonna like listen to what you have to say, whereas the Battlefield player is.
Yeah, it's funny because I see fucking people talking in chat in Battlefield 1 complaining about squad leaders who don't give them orders.
Mm-hmm. You know, you can just read the chat in Battlefield 1 endlessly, and you know, you see people screaming for fucking med boxes and calling people idiots for wasting aircraft and talking about shitty squad leaders who aren't given orders.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's like you can just tell the difference in the way that the community likes to play. Obviously.
Oh yeah, and people directing fire of the dreadnought. Like I
Mhm.
remember some people were doing that on Foul Fortress.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I just had a guy, I was just playing like 20 minutes ago, and like, I was standing behind the enemy artillery truck, and a bunch of dudes spawned on me, and the assault guy didn't do anything about the artillery truck that he was standing right behind. The guy came on his mic, he literally turned it on just so he could yell at the assault player to be like, "Hey, idiot, destroy the fucking truck." You know, like. So I think it's one of those things you can definitely tell that the Battlefield community in this game is like way more willing to participate in teamwork.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, before we end, the other guy who was talking is Brack. Say hello, Brack.
Hello, Breck.
Fucking smartass.
We're gonna end the show before he starts going on about Trump.
Silence.
It's a little too soon for that. They just tried to assassinate him.
A little too soon. I'm sorry. I don't like either of the candidates. We're not gonna do politics. You know what? The show's over. We'll see you next time on Bad or Best. It's Battlefield.